And welcome to Newington, Connecticut and Bowl-O-Rama, the site of another NEBA bowling tournament. The New England Bowlers Association stopping here at Bowl-O-Rama this week, and a great singles tournament lined up for you. Jason Page and New Haven County Bowling Hall of Famer Don Harger here to bring you all the action. Don, the story of this tournament, high scores, lots of them. If you're one of our 4 semifinalists today, how do you just avoid making mistakes?
Well, I think the key is to have a great mental game. I mean, you got to be in every single shot. You can't make a mistake, and it's just that tough. You can get off to a good lead. If you let that one bad shot beat you in the 6th, 7th frame or something like that, somebody's going to come get you because everybody was scoring.
Lots of great bowlers here when you talk about our Final Four, but one that sticks out, a former PBA guy, just a couple of years he was on the tour, a couple of years ago he was on the tour, that being Brian LeClair. He goes up against our top seed, Anthony Valentine.
47 years old, out of Athens, New York. This guy's got a lot of PBA experience and 7,300 games. Again, mental toughness. These are the guys who made it to the finals.
Carl Paternostro and Anthony Pepe will meet up in our second semifinal match. When you look at this field as a whole, anybody who gets to this point is obviously somebody you have to have a lot of respect for when you go through this field of over 160 bowlers.
It's amazing the quality of bowlers that come out to all the NEBA tournaments, and the cream of the crop rise to every tournament. This tournament, high scoring, I thought the key was take your wrist out of the game. A lot of roll with your fingers, very little wrist, clean through the heads, and you don't get in trouble.
And one last note, these guys bowling on the TV pair, this is a freshly oiled pair of lanes. We've seen the scoring be very high when you talk about the freshly oiled pair.
Absolutely. So these guys just finished bowling their semifinals. They had to move and adjust. Now they're going to have to move all the way back to where they started from. And again, it's the mental toughness. It's making that great shot at the right moment.
We'll come back to Newington and Bowl-O-Rama semifinal match number 1, Anthony Valentine and Brian LeClair. It's next as NEBA Bowling is right here on CPTV Sports. So here we go, semifinal match number 1 of our coverage of NEBA here at Newington's Bowl-O-Rama, about to get underway. Anthony Valentine going up against Brian LeClair. The two shake hands, and we are underway. It'll be Valentine starting off on lane 37. And again, it deserves mentioning, nobody's bowled on these lanes since they've been oiled. That could mean high scores.
You know, it's the mental toughness of the bowlers in the first frame and the 9th and 10th frame are always, in my opinion, the key. Here's Valentine's first shot, television. We got people watching this match. There's a lot of pressure on this first shot. If he can get off to a clean start, that might help him out.
All 10 fall for Anthony Valentine and his first ball, and certainly no nerves there.
As you can see, his game is pretty compact. He goes right at the pins. He goes right with the arm swing, nice and straight. It's tough for a guy like that to get in trouble if he keeps his nerves in check.
Throwing a Storm Virtual Gravity, a Hammer Onyx vibe. And now here is Brian LeClair, his first ball of the match. Whew. Ringed it up.
Your experience better come shining through now.
There's the 8-pin just standing there laughing at him.
Unreal. You know, he did what he's supposed to do. He throws a perfect shot in the first ball. Stone 8. At least it's the first frame. If that's the frame you're going to do it in, that's where you want it.
So LeClair will shoot the 8-pin. And boy, that's got to be a frustrating way to start a match.
Well, you know, he has the pocket. He looks like he's mentally tough, obviously. He's got so much experience. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for him to come right back into the pocket and put some pressure on Valentine again.
Again, LeClair, 47 years old, from Athens, New York, works in the bowling business for a living. Owner of Revolution's Pro Shop in Del Mar, New York. Bowling on lane 37 here, second frame, our first semifinal match. No problems with the 8-pin this time as LeClair sends all 10 packing.
If you notice Brian LeClair's release, it is so clean. He doesn't do much with his wrist. It's a nice forward roll with his fingers. And that's what I think was the key to this tournament, because the guys who really give it a lot of wrist and spray it, they were not able to keep the pocket line very, very nicely this week.
So Valentine will come up after a strike in the first. Again, his first appearance in a finals of any sort. Big backswing. And again, no problems there for Valentine.
Ice water in the veins. Look
Yeah.
at him. He's smiling.
He is. He's having a good time with it. First place here at this NEBA event will take home $1,600, also a $100 entry into the Ebonite tournament.
We've got a little bonus, too, if anybody throws a 300, right?
$500 for any perfect game that is thrown during our telecast. Now, there were plenty of them thrown leading up to the telecast. Could we see one here tonight? Well, it's certainly a possibility on this freshly oiled pair. Valentine in the third. Comes up a little high. That'll leave a 6-pin standing.
He got that one left to target. He got a little bit fast with his feet, a little bit off balance. When that happens, your body just tries to correct itself, and he pulled up, missed left. He's got an easy spare, though, in a 6-pin.
And Valentine easily takes care of the 6-pin.
You know what I'm noticing, too, on this shot? When people make spares, usually if it's a tough shot, they go straight at it, straight and hard. You're going to see guys hook it a little bit more because it's a little bit more of a forgiving shot today.
LeClair coming off a spare strike start here in the third. He left the 8-pin last time. He leaves nothing standing. This time, Brian LeClair now working on a double after a strike in the third.
I'll tell you what, if you're at home and you want to watch what the game is evolving into, in my opinion, it's that release. It's butter on the bottom. He's not over-hitting the ball. He doesn't have to. The ball definitely has enough skid, roll, and hook. That's exactly what the game is about today with all these high-performance bowling balls.
LeClair has thrown 3 perfect balls thus far, the 8-pin notwithstanding. And now here on the left lane, 4th frame, working on a double. And this time the ringing 10.
The only thing that caught everybody this tournament was that, corner pin every once in a while. Everybody had the pocket. You can certainly throw perfect shots, but whether the 10-pin goes or not depends on whether you're making it further.
And again, Don, with scoring so high, making spares, it's not an option. You have to make every single spare.
We saw during the semifinals, one shot like that cost a guy a match.
So LeClair takes out the 10-pin. And Valentine will step up in the 4th frame on lane 38, the right lane of this, again, freshly oiled pair. And you wonder if it's an advantage for the guys in the second semifinal. Carl Paternostro and Anthony Pepe, the fact that these lanes will have a little work on them by the time they get into their match.
It could be, but don't forget, the oil pattern on synthetic lanes goes down the lane, so it dries out the heads. It makes the back of the lane a little bit more slippery.
Here's Valentine in the 4th. And he leaves the ringing 10-pin. So LeClair leaves one, and Valentine says, I'll see you my 10-pin.
You know what, it's tough to critique a ball perfect like that in the pocket. Again, he was just a little bit off balance as he threw the ball. Maybe his feet were a little bit fast. He wasn't solid, but that's all I have. That was a great shot.
Now Valentine to clean up the 10-pin. And if there's any spot where perhaps you'd see nerves, it would be on something like that, a 10-pin. The camera's on now, people watching, the opportunity to get your first win, and he cleaned it up with no problem.
Exactly, but again, his game is nice and solid. He goes straight at the pins. If he gets in trouble, he's going to leave weak corner pins here and there. He's not going to throw the big split because he doesn't have that big break point.
Again, Anthony Valentine, 27 years old, from New Milford, western part of the state near Danbury. 20 years younger than Brian LeClair. Isn't this sport great? And in the 5th, it's Valentine getting back on the strike track as he sends all 10 down there.
It's going back and forth. That's what we love to see. We saw a lot of great matches. It comes down to the 9th and 10th frame. Who makes the better shot, maybe even who gets luckier.
So now LeClair in the 5th, working off of a spare. Tight match here in our opening semifinal. Oh, and LeClair buries it.
I got a man crush on that release. It's unbelievable. It is just so smooth, so balanced. It's perfect.
And again, for LeClair, you almost get the sense there's no pressure on somebody like him. He's been in this situation so many times before. Even though this is his first NEBA tournament, he's used to bowling with some of the greatest bowlers in the world.
You're right. That's the PBA experience. But we got a lot of noise going on here, and they're able to focus that out and focus on the shot.
So here's LeClair now in the 6th. That one hit a little soft, it appeared, and LeClair leaves himself a 10-pin.
Again, just a hair off balance. If you're able to just watch how they land and how they stick the landing, that was just a little bit off balance, and that's all it takes sometimes to leave a corner pin.
LeClair doesn't waste any time in cleaning up the 10-pin, converts the spare. And again, in a match that, going into the 5th frame was essentially separated by 1 pin, and we saw the difference between winning and losing when it came to match play was carry.
Exactly, and these guys are making their spares. That's the difference between people who are here right now in the finals and people who are already halfway on their way home. You can get a bad break, leave a corner pin, miss it, and then miss the cut by a couple of pins. That's what happens. These guys are really, really tough.
Now we'll watch Valentine working off a strike in the 5th, an opportunity to take a double-digit lead here in this match. Oh, and he shreds the rack that time. Valentine.
That was a great shot. And you know what? Just before the shot, I recognized that he had a drop ring finger release. His ball drilled, the ring finger is a little bit lower than the middle finger, which allows him to get that 11-11-30 roll. So he doesn't get the big snap at the end, but he gets heavy, heavy roll. And if you're in a house where that carries, he's going to be awful tough. So if he comes and throws a couple of strikes right here, he's going to put a lot of pressure on Brian LeClair.
I want to talk a little bit about his backswing after this shot, because it's a pretty high backswing. You heard him calling for it to carry, and it certainly did. Anthony Valentine throws the first turkey of this match up on the board, and he's got a commanding lead here over the old veteran Brian LeClair.
He's got a lot of fans that are helping him out here in the stands. They're giving him a little bit of encouragement. The smile's back.
So LeClair needs to put an X up on the board right now. And he does. Big response from Brian LeClair.
I don't think all the fanfare back here really matters to Brian. He just stuffed that ball. That was a great shot.
Valentine, we were talking about his approach and the fact that he gets his backswing so high. You would think there would be a lot of margin for error in a backswing that big.
It certainly can exist, but if you're able to keep your timing, it's going to be okay. It's going to be beneficial, actually, the speed that he gets.
Now here's LeClair again, needing strikes. And the carry is there this time for Brian LeClair, who does his best to answer Anthony Valentine in this tightly contested opening semifinal match.
And again, we're going back and forth, and that's how it's been all tournament. We've seen great matches throughout this tournament.
And it looks right now, though, as if Valentine, up about 21, if he could strike here, he would keep a pretty good stranglehold on this match. So here's Valentine now.
If they both strike out, they're in the 260s and 240s.
Valentine lets it go. And the 10-pin is the last one to fall, but it does indeed. And Anthony Valentine now finds himself in a real primo position, really controlling his own destiny.
That was a great shot. You know, the power players get the head pin off the side wall to come and be the messenger. He just got the 6-pin to lean into the 10-pin. That's all you need. And on a little tougher shot, he's going to be in control of the way his ball rolls down the lane a little bit better than some guys who really hook the ball up.
A strike here would really put the pressure on Brian LeClair. 9th frame, opening semifinal. Boy, he knew it when he released it, and he leaves the big split. Not a 7-10, but the 6-7.
That's what we spoke about earlier. You know, the high scores of this tournament, it just does not allow you to make one mistake. And it's almost like a veteran like Brian LeClair. He might be sitting there just thinking, when's it going to come? When's it going to come?
So here's Valentine trying to push the 6 into the 7. He can't. First open of this match leaves Anthony Valentine at 2:04 through 9 frames. And Brian LeClair, if he strikes here, will have 157 in the 7th.
Valentine is still alive. LeClair's got to actually put pressure right here on the next 2 shots.
Well, LeClair can shut him out now if he strikes out.
You're right.
9th frame, needs the first one. And he leaves the 10 pin. So again, Brian LeClair, he hasn't missed the pocket in this match, Don. He has not missed the pocket in this match, but still having trouble getting the carry. And right now, even after the open from Anthony Valentine can win this match with his chance in the 10th.
I saw a lot of guys leave this tournament shaking their heads, wondering how could I hit the pocket 12 times and lose a match?
And LeClair right now is doing the same thing, shaking his head. He ain't left yet, but he's shaking his head. If he strikes here, he'll be down 6, or up 4, if you will, after the first ball in the 10th. But the fact of the matter is, right now, Anthony Valentine's on a pace for 234, and Brian LeClair's on a 228 pace. If both strike out, that's what you'll have. First ball in the 10th here for LeClair, down by 6. And he gets the first one. And he's got to feel that if he can put 3 up on the board here and put that kind of pressure on the rookie, essentially, Anthony Valentine, he's got to like his chances.
He is looking a little dejected, though. I know that 9th frame really, he's feeling that one. That was a perfect shot, just couldn't carry it.
Yeah, you could see that look in his eye, but also he's been in this position many times before. Whether it's in league bowling, whether it's in tournament bowling, he's been here before. Again, the 47-year-old in his first NEBA tournament trying to get a victory after spending years on the PBA Tour. Second ball in the 10th. And he does carry. The 7-10 stood for a moment and then fell. And now Brian LeClair, well, essentially this ball, as long as he puts 7 or 8 pins up, it's going to force Anthony Valentine to throw the first 2 in the 10th.
You know, that's what you want to do. You want to make your opponent have to show up in the 10th frame and make 2 good shots. But I got to tell you, it's like being kicked in the teeth. You put every ball in the pocket, 220.
And again, the 10 pin there smiling at him as he finishes. Brian LeClair finishes with a 227. And now it'll be up to Anthony Valentine, who steps up in the 10th frame. He needs the first 2 and 4 pins on the fill ball.
LeClair's 227. That's the lowest 300 game I ever saw. He put every ball in the pocket.
12 balls, 12 first balls in the pocket. So Valentine again, needing the first 2 in the 10th. And then just keep it in the middle of the lane. Looking for his first victory in any sort of tournament. Opening semifinal match, he needs this one. And he does not get it. An 8 count for Anthony Valentine, coming up a little light on that first ball, and Brian LeClair will move on in our opening semifinal match. Not to be today for Anthony Valentine.
There's your experience right there. Valentine did throw a good ball. His speed was right, but he just didn't catch it on the bottom. Maybe a little bit of nerves. Adds insult to injury.
Picks the spare, finishes with 213, and it's a win for Brian LeClair, who's probably done it so many times in his life before. He stepped up in the 10th, got the first 2, and put it in the hands of Anthony Valentine, who's unable to throw the first 2 strikes in the 10th. The victory for Brian LeClair. He will move on. In our second semifinal match, it'll be Butch Paternostro. Said don't call him Carl, call him Butch. Going up against Anthony Pepe. We will continue with our coverage. Jason Page and Don Harger. We're in Newington, Connecticut. Bowl-O-Rama, the site of this week's NEBA tournament on CPTV Sports. Our second semifinal match, Anthony Pepe of Queens, New York, who you just saw there, and Carl Butch Paternostro. These two going at it in our second semifinal match. And in the case of Butch Paternostro, here's a guy who's 65 years old. You want to talk about this sport no longer being just for the young. And the equipment has a lot to do with that today, that at the age of 65, here's this guy who's gone through qualifying in 5 games, another probably 3 or 4 at least in match play. And this has to be his 10th or 11th game of the day.
I'll tell you what, though. Look at how great shape he's in. You got to see the ball he throws. Everything's balanced. It doesn't really lend too much opportunity for pain or any kind of problems in his game. I mean, he's just as solid as can be, and he's in great shape. So God bless him. He throws the ball phenomenal.
He's retired, and this is his home house here at Bowl-O-Rama. So he certainly has a lot of people here that are rooting for him. He's bowled 28 300 games at the age of 65, amazingly. He's averaging 223. I hope I'm still even rolling the ball down the lane with 2 hands when I'm 65,
Exactly.
let alone averaging 223. Here we go. First frame, second semifinal. Paternostro will lead things off. And he does so. Carries the 10 and opens with a strike against Anthony Pepe, who is 42 years his junior.
That's it. David and Goliath, whatever you want to call it. But you got to love this sport. It allows everybody to participate.
I don't know if David and Goliath is the one that I'm thinking of, but it is certainly something else. Here's Pepe averaging 240 out of Astoria Bowl. That obviously in the Queens area, the lefty, lone lefty here. And no problems for him, and he's throwing on a line that hasn't been used either in the first match or at all.
Yeah, so that's either feast or famine. If he can find it and keep it there, he's not going to have to move. If he doesn't find it, he's going to have to change a lot of things about his game just to get on track. But after the first ball, it looks like he's right in the pocket.
Started bowling at the age of 6, and after that ball, you'd wonder if he was throwing it coming out of the womb. 300 games.
That's it.
Anthony Pepe. How many do you have?
29, I think.
29, you think?
Yeah.
When you start losing count, you know you're throwing a lot of them. Second frame for Pepe. And he's able to trip out the 8. And Anthony Pepe able to start off with a couple of strikes.
You know, again, the one thing that I'm noticing on each one of these players, all 4 of them, is the clean release that they need to bowl well on this particular shot today. We saw a lot of guys spraying it, a lot of guys with a lot of hand, a lot of wrist, a lot of revs, a lot of speed. But the guys who end up in the finals are the guys who are nice and clean at the release with a lot of finger roll.
Paternostro in the second. And he says, I'll keep up with you, youngster. We could go at this all day if you want.
Now, he's shaking his head and he's saying, wow. I think he got the ball in a little bit, and he's used to seeing the ball come back a lot harder than that, but he carried. So what he should do is use that line. When he gets it a little bit right, it'll come back no problem. But when he gets it right where he got it right there, it's going to sit and it's still going to carry. He should be loving that right now.
So Butch Paternostro in the third has led off with a couple of strikes. Good release and high flush for Butch Paternostro, who opens up with the turkey.
I got 3 words for that shot. Delicious.
Pepe. Well, he's got to know by now he's in for a fight. And I can't get inside his head, and I don't know what he's thinking when he looks across and realizes he's bowling somebody old enough to be his grandfather, but
These young kids, I don't think they care anymore.
the lefty starts on the far right side of the lane, swings it out. And again, a little high, but gets the carry, and Anthony Pepe starts out with a turkey as well.
So I got to tell you, so Pepe throws that shot, it's a little bit high, he gets away with it, and Butch has to be saying to himself, I can't say what he's saying to himself.
Darn whippersnappers.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
I don't know if he's saying that. Pepe and Paternostro both with strikes through the first 3 frames of our second semifinal match. The winner to take on veteran Brian LeClair in our NEBA final here in Newington. 4th frame for Pepe. And the one thing you notice about all these guys, Don, is the balance. The release, the finish. They're all pretty universal when you talk about the finish.
When you actually bowl in a condition like this, where you have to post up every shot, that's the key. When they get dried out, And when they've been bowled on all day long and it takes like a guy with a lot of hand and a lot of revs, then you can see the sloppy strikes. But that's not going to work on a condition like this right now.
Paternostro in the fourth. We'll see how he responds to Pepe, who started out with the front four. Oh, boy. That is solid gold right there from Butch Paternostro, again, who walks away shaking his head after he knocks down all 10.
Yep, the last shot on lane 38, he didn't get that big snap, and he carried, and he had a funny look on his face. That one I thought was a perfect shot. It actually came up a hair strong, and maybe he's worried about leaving some 8s and 9 pins that we saw this week too, so he's got to think about how he wants to enter the pocket.
Butch Paternostro, a NEBA winner, bowling for 45 years, trying to summons another tournament. And he picks up another strike here in the fifth. So Butch Paternostro throwing the gauntlet down here with Anthony Pepe. He's got the front 5. Pepe coming up here in the fifth has the front 4. Also deserves to mention, Anthony Pepe has 2 PBA regional titles. So we talk about Brian LeClair and his PBA experience. 2 PBA regional titles for 23-year-old Anthony Pepe. The lefty here in the fifth. Oh, he loved it when he let it go and it leaves the ringing 7-pin.
If you notice, that one just got a little bit left of target at the break point, and it came in behind the head pin, snaps around the 7, and that's what we're looking at, stone 7, and one of those things in a tight match where everybody's striking.
So in the fifth, a little daylight now for Butch Paternostro. Pepe, no trouble converting the 7-pin. But he trails in this match now for the first time. First non-strike of this match. And again, it deserves mentioning, anybody who throws a 300 during our TV broadcast will win an extra $500.
That's not the kiss of death now, is it? Could be.
Could be. I always kill baseball announcers when they talk about it. When do you talk about it?
You have to, but you shouldn't.
There's Pepe now in the sixth, working off of a spare. And all 10 fall for Anthony Pepe in the sixth.
That was a great
again,
shot.
keeping the pressure on Butch Paternostro.
You know, you can see how nice and easy everything is. And when you're in a match like this, when your opponent's striking, you know you got to keep going. To just keep everything in check and stay smooth and stay slow. That was a great shot.
There's Paternostro. He's got the front 5. Make it 6 for Butch Paternostro.
That ball is hitting hard.
Ain't shaking his head walking back from that one.
I don't know what that's all about. He's throwing the ball great, and he's shaking his head like
two NEBA titles for Butch Paternostro, looking for his 3rd today and a $1,600 first place prize. Also a $100 entry into the Ebonite tournament. Now here's Paternostro. Left lane in the 7th. And he has the front 7 now. So Butch Paternostro just continuing to pour it on here in this second semifinal.
That was a gorgeous shot. And I'll tell you what, when you have to repeat shots at this level, you try to do everything the exact same way. So you're going to see people rub their feet, blow on their finger, lick their finger, whatever it is. But they're going to have to do everything exactly the same every shot to make it feel like they're going to repeat the entire shot all the way through.
And for a lot of these guys, it's just ritual. Pepe now in the 7th. How does he respond? And he does so in a big way. Anthony Pepe sends all 10 into the pit. And again, a 7-pin is all that stands between both of these guys and perfection.
That was beautiful. Unbelievable shot. Stayed down. You see the pin snap like that, you know you had a good release. You stayed down and everything. Again, the balance that you talked about, it's right there.
And again, a lot of times we'll talk about high-scoring conditions and, wow, you know, they can throw it out there. And, you know, in these high-scoring conditions, there's going to be a lot of high scores. But the fact of the matter is, I think that only makes the pressure greater and a premium on just how much you have to strike. Here's Pepe. Here's Pepe in the 8th. And this time he leaves the 8-pin. Now that's the second time in both of our semifinal matches that we've seen the 8-pin standing. Once for the righty and now for the lefty.
That's just like trying to cross the finish line. You get shot by a sniper.
Boy, and Pepe has to feel awful dejected right now. A 7-pin and an 8-pin. His arch nemesis in this match, and he's in a world of trouble with Butch Paternostro here.
They say those shots build character. I don't think he wants any more character at this point in the game.
And if Paternostro can throw one here in the 8th and one in the 9th, you'd have to think he locks up this match.
Unreal.
So here's Paternostro. Again, he has the front 7. Looking for another here in the 8th. Release is good. Can't carry the 10-pin.
A little bit of justice Anthony Pepe is thinking at this time, and he's not out of the match, but it's tough. You got to throw strikes, and Pepe's doing everything he can to put the ball in the pocket. He's making great shots. It's the carry. It's just funny how it works for some and gets you at other points.
And again, you wonder. You see Paternostro go to his shoes, and makes you wonder if he is having any issues when he gets up to the line. No problems there with the 10-pin. And still with a lead on Anthony Pepe, but the lead shrinks a little bit after that 10-pin remains standing in the 8th frame.
So we noticed that Butch actually rubbed his shoe, and he rubs his shoe every single time with a wire brush. I hope he doesn't go through and hit the sock. You know?
Paternostro now in the 9th, still controls his own destiny. He strikes out in the 9th and 10th. He's moving on to the final. First the 9th. He got it out wide, and we saw it in match number 1, and we see it again here in match number 2. A huge split left at the most inopportune time.
That's what happens. But you know what? I got to tell you, you have to give these guys credit, because the shot is not so easy. I know the scoring is high, but the shot is not so easy where, you know, you just go up there and you throw strikes. These guys are making shots, quality shots, and unfortunately that one for Butch got a little bit right, and it skid a little bit too far, and when it hit the dry, it was not in a position to hit the 1-3 pocket, and it came way behind and left a big split.
I believe the 2-4-10, and they're going to have to reset it. We'll have to reset that 2-4-10 as it was cleared inadvertently here by the rack.
I kind of want to paint the picture of today's tournament in baseball analogy. So if you got a pitcher about 88, 89 miles an hour, he better hit the corners. He better hit the black. He better be at the knees. You got to be crafty, right? But if you have somebody throwing 97, 98 miles an hour, it doesn't really matter. You just throw it right over the plate. Hardly anybody's going to hit it. In bowling, you got the big, strong wrists, the revs, the speed. Those guys aren't here. This tournament ended up being a little bit more of a finesse, clean at the bottom, keeping, you know, because that's the kind of thing that happens if you throw the big hook, and if you miss just by a little bit, that's what we're seeing today. So we had a lot of great bowlers, high scores. They actually got beat. They're halfway on their way home right now, and these 4 are here. They're the clean, nice, perfect games. Actually, that's what made it to the finals.
So Paternostro will have the 2-4-10 when we resume here. And in the case of Anthony Pepe, Don, you want to talk about the range of emotions. You leave an 8-pin, you leave a 7-pin, you essentially think you're out of this match, and now in the blink of an eye, you can win this on your own in the 9th and 10th.
That's why you have to stay mentally tough throughout the whole game, because you never know. You don't want to get too dejected when you throw a perfect ball and you leave a corner pin. You made your spares, you're okay, you're clean. And if you just kind of keep your senses all the way through, you never know. Your opponent might hand you back an opportunity.
Right now, Pepe can go off at 258 if he strikes out in the 9th and 10th. Paternostro going to try and make this. And he only gets 1. I don't know if the count's going to be huge there. That puts him at a 254 pace. And for Anthony Pepe, If he strikes out, he shoots 258. He's moving on to the final.
We got a 4-pin match right here.
But he needs this one here in the 9th in order to control his destiny in the 10th. He's made a number of great shots. Can he make another one here? 9th frame, 2nd semifinal. And he does.
That's about as good as you can throw a bowling ball.
That's
right
how
there.
they do it in Queens, New York. And Anthony Pepe now with an opportunity, if he strikes out, to shoot 258 and put Butch Paternostro in the position of spectator here in the 10th.
Ice water in the veins. He didn't even show any emotion. He's just going about his business.
Anything less than a strike on this first ball, though, and Paternostro will control his own fate and be able to win this match in the 10th.
We're pretty lucky having these matches come down to the last frame.
Lefty lines up near the ball return on the right side. Solid release. He likes it. And a pocket 7-10. Goodness gracious.
You're going to see on television that ball got a little bit left. Even though it was a good shot, good release, but it did get a little left and it ran out of gas when it hit the pocket. And he had the worst break you can imagine, a pocket 7-10.
It looked like he liked it out of his hand. Now he tries to make the 7-10. Obviously, one of the hardest spares in all of bowling to make. And Anthony Pepe finishes with a 226. And now for Butch Paternostro, just keep it on the lane. And he'll be moving on for potentially his 3rd NEBA title.
Isn't that what they said about Del Ballard all those years ago? Remember that?
Paternostro does not want to hear us say that.
He's
not going to take anything to chance. He throws it towards the middle of the lane. All 10 fall. And how about 65-year-old Butch Paternostro? He is moving on to our NEBA final here at his home lanes of Bowl-O-Rama in Newington. And all you can do if you're Anthony Pepe is just shake your head in disbelief. He thought he threw a good ball on the left lane in the 10th frame and left the pocket 7-10. Paternostro just cleaning things up now. The rest of this is all window dressing as Paternostro will move on. And with all the youngsters you see at these NEBA tournaments, all the 20-year-olds, all the teenagers that get into it, wouldn't you know it, in the final we'll have a 65-year-old and a 47-year-old battling for this NEBA championship, $1,600 at stake.
I showed up 3 hours ago and I'm exhausted. I'm not even bowling.
And Butch Paternostro will move on to our finals where he will take on Brian LeClair. We'll hear from both of our finalists when we come back. Brian LeClair and Butch Paternostro in our NEBA final from Newington. Our coverage continues on CPTV Sports. We welcome you back to Newington, Connecticut, and Bowl-O-Rama. Our finals about to get underway between Brian LeClair and Carl Paternostro, couple of veterans. LeClair, 47 years old, from Athens, New York. I had the opportunity to talk to him just a moment ago. Brian, the pressure of making every shot a perfect one in these high-scoring conditions. Talk about it.
Well, actually, the pressure isn't as much. You kind of relax, just get the ball off your hand the right way. If you get the ball get off your hand the right way, the ball will roll correct because you have a little bit more area than a lot of the other shots. You know, in tougher conditions, you really got to concentrate more on accuracy and not as much getting off your hand. But on a higher scoring condition, I like getting it off my hand the right way, and it even makes more room for you. And your carry seems to go up too.
We've seen it in both of these matches. Just a question of whether or not you get the carry. How do you keep from getting frustrated when it's not there?
Well, what you do is basically read your ball reaction, and you can tell by the way what pins are falling and what's not, what you might have to do in your next shot with your hand or a ball angle to try to throw the best shot to strike on the next shot.
Best of luck looking for your first win.
Thanks, Jason.
For Brian LeClair, an opportunity to get his first NEBA win. Carl Paternostro, well, he's got a couple of titles under his belt. He also had the opportunity to catch up with the Bowl-O-Rama veteran just a few moments ago. Butch, looking for your 3rd NEBA title. Talk about what this one would mean here in your home lanes.
Would mean an awful lot because I started bowling at Bowl-O-Rama in 1959 when it opened, and I was a junior bowler here. And this would be very, very important for me to win this year. It'd sort of be a highlight of my bowling career.
You know, I look at all these guys out here, some of them young enough to be your grandson. That can't be all that daunting a challenge to you, though. You seem like you almost thrive on it.
Yes, I do. It's just fun. Bowling is one of those great sports where no matter what your age is, you can be competitive. And I recommend anybody to take up bowling because it is a lifelong sport. You just look at me.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
It's time for our NEBA finals here in Newington. Butch Paternostro and Brian LeClair, $1,600 to the first place winner. And in the case of Brian LeClair, again, looking for his first NEBA title in his first NEBA appearance. Paternostro will start out first frame on the left lane. Paternostro lets it go, and a high flush. Paternostro just starting where he left off.
Beautiful shot. You know, we had a little bit of a break. You don't know if the lanes are how they're gonna transition, if they're gonna break down a little bit. I don't know if he moved a little bit left or not, but boy, he put the first ball exactly where he wanted to put it.
And here's LeClair now, veteran of the PBA Tour. First ball, opening frame. Almost left the 9-pin standing, but he got the kick off the sidewall, and Brian LeClair opens with a strike as well.
That was a great break right there to stay even. A little bit harder to the pocket, but he got the carry, and we're off to a good start.
And you were watching Brian in warm-ups. You noticed maybe him taking a little bit of a different approach.
You know, it's just a little bit of a break, and it depends how you adjust coming out of that break.
LeClair in the second. No problems for him this time either. An opening double for Brian LeClair, putting the early pressure on Carl Paternostro.
I don't know whether he went to a different ball right there or if he's just deciding to play a little bit harder, a little bit straighter as the lanes transition so he can stay ahead of that and it won't affect him quite as much.
In 28 300 games in the 45-year bowling history of Butch Paternostro. In the second. This one a little high, and he's able to trip out the 4-pin.
That is called a warning shot right there. He's either going to pick up the speed a little bit or move a little bit left, but he got away with a nice one there.
Is there sometimes a sense of alarm when you nearly have that sort of leave if you're Butch Paternostro?
I never get one. I just go double nuts right through the headpin.
But do you think, you know, sometimes you can come back and maybe overcompensate a little bit, try and throw it a little too hard?
Well, here's the thing. You don't want to adjust on the left lane that you buried.
Here's Paternostro. Third frame. A little light in the pocket, leaves the 10-pin.
That could exactly be what happened. You know, going a little bit high on lane 38, having that in your mind, going a board left on 37, throwing a shot like that, and leaving a corner pin. You called it right there.
Looked like it may have flattened out a little bit, too, at the end. So Paternostro, third frame, both bowlers with strikes in their first 2 frames. Paternostro, no problems converting the 10-pin. And for all of you at home who are watching, you want to become a better bowler, learn how to make the 10-pin or the 7-pin if you're a lefty.
It's not easy to make it in the final match of a NEBA final.
Here's LeClair working off a double. Finals, NEBA here in Newington. And nearly leaves the pocket 7-10. He does. The 7 was spinning around. It looked like it might fall. It did not. And Brian LeClair, a pocket 7-10.
That's a bad break.
Here in the third frame. Boy, oh boy. Lofts it as hard as he can. Tried to knock the 10 across the deck and take out the 7. Unable to do so. And just like that, Brian LeClair, the PBA veteran, looking for his first NEBA win in his first NEBA tournament, finds himself in the hole.
We're seeing how the players are adjusting. Brian's tending to throw it a little bit harder, and that ball never really got up into a good roll hook. It actually just kept rolling, and it didn't hit so hard. I don't know if he's going to move left and slow it down after that shot.
See what kind of adjustment LeClair makes here. Again, staying inside, and no problems that time with carry for Brian LeClair, who's able to strike in the 4th. But again, that pocket 7-10 in the third. We'll find out how costly it is soon enough. So here's Paternostro. Fourth frame working off a spare. Looking for his third NEBA win in his home house. You heard him talk about how much this one would mean to him. And again, this one snaps through the head pin, almost the same as the last ball he threw.
He really caught that one on the bottom. I saw a little bit more wrist involvement in that shot, and when it came out of the break point, it really snapped up hard to the left. He didn't quite go easy with it on the bottom and use the finger roll. He got it with his wrist, and that usually comes right through the nose, 6-10.
So here's Paternostro trying to convert the 6-10. No problems that time, able to flatten it out, and Butch Paternostro stays clean through the fourth frame. I have to ask the question, though. He's 65 years old. He's thrown at least 5 games, a bunch of practice frames. He threw another 4 in match play. He's thrown another one here. This is easily his 11th game of the day, not counting the practice balls. Could he be getting tired?
Well, I think his game is so solid, I doubt it, to be honest with you. You're running on adrenaline at this time, and he's throwing the ball great.
Paternostro working off a spare in the fifth. This one a little high, but he's able to knock down the 9-pin. A fortuitous kick for Butch Paternostro.
That is a nice break. I'll tell you what, again, that ball is really creeping up high and hard. I don't know if he's going to have to move just a little bit left, but when he did before, that's when he left that weak corner pin. So it's going to make a premium on making really good shots.
Here's LeClair working off a strike, his 5th frame. Again, staying inside, and this time the 10-pin falls for Brian LeClair. He stared it down until it finally toppled over.
You have to do that. You got to look at the 10-pin, show it who's boss. You got to stand there and just keep looking at it until it falls. It always works, doesn't it?
Well, in the case of LeClair, it certainly did, and if not for a pocket 7-10 right now, you'd be looking at the front 5. Of course, you can't think about that. 6th frame, trying to keep the pressure on Butch Paternostro. And again, the 10-pin stands.
Yeah, you can see his reaction to that. I think he pushed it a little bit wide to the right, and it really just didn't. The release he has right now, it doesn't allow for that ball to snap back when he misses right.
Is it also a mark of somebody who's playing an inside line that you'll see that 10-pin?
Typically, when you move to the left, when you move inside, you want to change your roll from like an 11 o'clock roll to a 10 o'clock, and you got to actually point your index finger a little bit more to the pins. That will get the ball out of the oil, and when it hits the break point, it'll face up and go to the left into the pocket. He's playing a little bit more of an 11 o'clock roll, and he's trying to use a little bit more speed. When you play the heavy oil inside, the ball doesn't really have that impetus.
LeClair able to take out the 10-pin. Now here's Paternostro.
That was a good
in
shot.
the 6th. Oh, he loved that one when it left his hand. And Butch Paternostro with a big double there.
See, he moved a little bit left, and he caught it on the bottom a little bit. Don't forget how versatile these bowlers are. They actually bowl in a lot of different lane conditions. Sometimes they got to go straight up the board. Sometimes they have to just let it go to the right. And I'm sure that Butch can bowl in a lot of different lane conditions with his game. He's moving left because the lanes are breaking down a little bit, but he's changing his release. That was in the right place. That was a great shot.
There's Paternostro working on a double in the 7th. This one a little high, and again he trips the 9-pin. We've seen a couple of tripped 9-pins here in this match. That one goes the direction of Paternostro. We saw one go the direction of LeClair, and a big turkey on the board here for Butch Paternostro.
Throughout this tournament, we saw a lot of 8s and 9-pins. Stone in the pocket. We're seeing the lanes giveth a little bit more right now.
And now LeClair, he needs 10 on the first ball in the worst way. And he's able to get it there. A light pocket hit, but no problems for Brian LeClair, clearing the deck as he throws a strike up on the board in the 7th. And he needs them all right now.
He just switched balls to a ball that actually goes longer through the heads, and it saves the energy for the back end. The ball he threw before that actually rolled earlier, and it kind of ran out of gas a little bit. This ball goes down the lane a little bit cleaner, and it has more energy in the back And you saw that in the pin carry right there.
Right now, LeClair down by 22. He needs strikes in the worst way. He's going to need Paternostro to give him some help. And again, the 10-pin stands for Brian LeClair.
Unbelievable. You got to love it, though, because it really puts a premium on the spare-making shots and the mental toughness. And, you know, you want your finals in NEBA to be good grind-out matches of who makes the best shots and who stays out of trouble.
Boy, LeClair liked that one out of his hand. No problems with the 10-pin. And now Butch Paternostro really controls his own destiny with just a couple of frames remaining in this match. Just a couple of frames potentially from his third NEBA win and what he called really the one that would matter to him more than any other, considering this is the house that he grew up bowling in.
I'm sure he likes being in the driver's seat right now, but I'm sure he would want definitely 2 more at least to feel a little bit better about it.
He's going at a 267 pace right now. Here in the 8th. And he leaves himself the pocket 7-10. My goodness. Just when you thought you've seen it all today, Paternostro potentially letting Brian LeClair back into this match.
It's like the Hearns-Hagler fight here. Back and forth.
Wow.
That was a great shot. There's just nothing you can do. He came back smiling. I'm sure he's not happy.
Paternostro able to knock out the 10-pin. So that leaves him at 173 through 8 frames. Again, he can strike out in the 9th and 10th and still win this match, but now a premium on shot making as Brian LeClair is certainly right back in this match, down potentially by just 8 pins.
Yeah, he's still in the driver's seat, but he definitely lost his insurance policy right there.
So Paternostro off of that 7-10 split here in the 9th. Did he get it out there enough? He certainly did. And he comes back smiling
That
after
shot
the
was
pocket
insane.
7-10.
That was an insane shot. He stayed low. He grabbed it at the bottom. Perfect arm swing. That's as good a ball as you could throw in the 9th frame of the finals.
But now, Brian LeClair was in this position before in the first semifinal, where he was behind all the way. He threw the strikes in the 9th and 10th frame to put the pressure on Anthony Valentine, who succumbed to it. He can put the pressure here on Butch Paternostro.
He hasn't missed the pocket.
Here's LeClair in the 9th. And the 7-pin this time stands. Again, playing that straighter inside line, unable to carry the 7-pin.
He just changed balls again. You know, he threw a strike on that lane. He went to the left side, didn't get the carry he wanted, and it made him change the ball on the right lane again, and the ball didn't bite.
And LeClair able to convert the 7-pin, but spares aren't going to cut it right now for Brian LeClair.
I'll tell you what, too, you have to know your arsenal. You've got to know all your equipment, what it does, when you need to go to it. And that's a big part of this match right here.
All right. If Brian LeClair strikes out, he can finish with a 214. That would put the pressure on Butch Paternostro in the 10th for a mark and good count to win this match.
Well, Butch has to be feeling good that Brian didn't strike in the 9th, the foundation for him.
But again, LeClair could still put a lot of pressure on Paternostro in the 10th. Here's his first ball in the 10th. And again, a ringing 10-pin.
That's what he's got every time on that shot with that ball. He just changed balls. He left a 10-pin twice on each side, and that might be what's going to make it for Butch, I got to tell you.
And he has got to be frustrated, does Brian LeClair. He's been in the pocket the whole game, just not getting the desired result. As he converts the 10-pin, now a strike, he can finish with 203. It would put the pressure on Butch Paternostro to mark in the 10th. So he needs a strike here to force Butch Paternostro to mark in the 10th for his 3rd NEBA title and a $1,600 first place prize here at Bowl-O-Rama in Newington. First, it comes down to this ball for LeClair, who needs a strike.
Yep, he's going to throw the same ball. Let's see if he gets the carry.
And this time he does. as all 10 fall. And LeClair's got to be saying, where was that all game? He finishes with a 203. And now it's all on Butch Paternostro, who will step up on lane 38, needing a mark and essentially one pin to win his third NEBA title at the age of 65. Amazing. Is it there? Yes, it is! And Butch Paternostro can breathe a huge sigh of relief now. That wraps it up.
If you ask him now, he might say he's tired, but not before that shot.
Butch Paternostro has just cinched his third NEBA title, and he does it in his home house. He's still talking to himself up there on the approach.
One perfect shot. Now he gets to enjoy the whole thing right here.
And again, all of this, just a little icing on the cake. 10-pin stands, but it doesn't matter for Butch Paternostro, again, who at the age of 65 has knocked off a PBA Tour veteran and Brian LeClair to win his third NEBA title. It really is amazing when you look at all the guys that we've seen bowl today. The combination of youth, the combination of revs, the combination of power. And here's 65-year-old Butch Paternostro. Strolls on in, walks out a NEBA champion.
These guys definitely deserved it. I don't want to take anything away from it, but there were a lot of bowlers who threw a lot of great games, didn't make it through. But boy, Butch did a great job today.
To the victor goes the spoils. We'll talk to Butch Paternostro about his third NEBA title and wrap things up from Newington's Bowl-O-Rama as we continue with our coverage of this NEBA tournament in Newington on CPTV Sports. We welcome you back to Bowl-O-Rama in Newington. It's all over, the third career NEBA title for Butch Paternostro, and a presentation from tournament director Joey Naru.
Butch, for your third NEBA title, congratulations. Nice big check for you, $1,600. Congratulations. Job well done, sir.
Joey. Thank you.
Listen, congratulations. You talked about it before the match, what this one means to you.
Well, this means an awful lot to me. Like I said, I've been at bowling and Bowl-O-Rama since 1959. It's a great house. Callahans are great people. And I would also like to thank NEBA, Joey and Becky. It's the longest running amateur tournament. It'll have its 50th anniversary January 2013. And all the bowlers are great. They're great to be with. And that's what made it so much fun today. Thank you.
How much of an advantage was it for you bowling in your home house?
It was an advantage. I'm pretty familiar with the lanes. I knew how they were going to break down, and it worked out for me today. And also, I was very lucky.
50-year anniversary. You going to be here for it?
Oh, yes. I will definitely be here for the 50th NEBA anniversary. Trust me.
No slowing down for you.
No slowing down at all.
Butch, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's going to wrap it up from Newington and Bowl-O-Rama. Special thanks to my friend, Don Harger, helping out on this broadcast, and all of our great staff here at CPTV Sports for their help as well. That's going to wrap it up from Bowl-O-Rama in Newington. Again, Butch Paternostro, his third NEBA title. We'll see you in July from Windsor Locks and Bradley Bowl. I'm Jason Page. Have a good night.